So if you have a meal and you feel really tired, you feel like lethargic,
Right.
maybe it's not the best for you.
The itis.
When you get the itis, you
The
know you
itis.
haven't eaten something good.
No, never.
Yeah.
You know you just fucked up your body.
I've never had the itis with some kale. That's
no,
all I'm gonna
never.
say.
There's never like
Yeah.
you're never having a kale smoothie and like, oh, I'm done, yo. You guys go on without me. I can't move off this couch.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely true. Like, the foods that you're eating should be giving your body energy. And if
Yeah.
it's doing anything that's not that, you're not putting the right things in.
Welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast. I'm your host, Deepak Sharma, and today I sit down with my friend Alycia. She's a super interesting person because she's all about sustainability, zero waste, environmentalism, and plant-based vegan living. She's also studying orthomolecular health science and cellular nutrition so she could eventually get into holistic nutritional advising. Super interesting stuff. We had a really fun conversation today about the effects of what we put into our body and, you know, the effects that has on our mind, some of the negatives associated with social media, as well as just general mindfulness, self-awareness, growing your own food. She has her own community garden, and so much more. It was a really enlightening podcast. I enjoyed it, and I think you will too. If you're listening to this right now and you're looking forward to this kind of content from myself, please consider subscribing to my Patreon page and subscribing to my podcast on all kinds of platforms. For as little as a coffee a month, you could help me keep the lights on and continue producing more content like this. If you can't, no problem. You can also just leave a rating, a comment, or just hit my line. Let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Thank you. Alycia, welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is super cool. We've known each other for a little while now. We used to work together at Coldry, and
yes, Coldry.
Super interesting time.
Yep. Yeah, I escaped, thankfully, about a year ago, but...
You made it out.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it.
You'll get there.
I mean, it's a fine place, but, at least I got to meet some cool people along the way, right?
100%, yeah.
We've had some very interesting conversations, about all kinds of things from, what we consume. You brought some amazing vegetables today from your own garden, which is amazing. I'd like to first get into that. Let's talk about that a little bit.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. So from my garden, I picked it like right before I got here, so it's extra fresh for you. I brought a whole bunch of kale. I grow two different kinds of kale in my garden. Yeah, there we go.
That out. This is nuts. Oh my God.
A whole
I
bunch
guarantee
of
you're
kale.
the only guest who is going to bring me fresh vegetables straight out of their own garden. This is amazing.
And then, I brought you some beets, some tomatoes.
Beets in there.
Yeah, a bunch of different kinds of herbs. I have some Cuban oregano, which is pretty rare. You won't really find it in a grocery store around
nuts.
here.
It smells so good. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love this. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
It's actually the perfect thing because you actually are such an interesting person because not only are you involved in so many really interesting areas of life, such as you're studying orthomolecular health science, which
Nailed
is
it.
something we will get into, but you run your own community garden. You live extremely, in my opinion, very healthy and a holistic lifestyle. You're very present in the moment, and that's why I think you're one of the most interesting people I know. So it's awesome to have you on. Let's talk a little bit about the community garden to start things off.
All right. Yeah, let's start there. So the community garden, it's located in Frank Ryan Park, which is the west end of Ottawa. You can go visit it whenever you want. It's pretty awesome. So I built this garden about 4.5 years ago. And so I grew up in the west end of Ottawa, and I was at that park all the time growing up. And there was just this big empty space. And I'm like, you know what, we should do something with this. So I went to a couple of the City of Ottawa meetings, spoke with some of our different political members of parliament, and I actually ended up getting a $10,000 grant.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and with that grant, I created the community garden. And I know it sounds like a lot of money, $10,000, but the thing is, this garden is special because not only is it a place to grow vegetables, but it's wheelchair accessible, and it's also accessible for people with mobility issues. So there's a path that we created and large like raised garden beds. So anyone can grow any kind of food that they want there.
Okay, so it's not in ground, it's up so that people,
Yeah.
it's kind of accessible to everybody. You don't have to bend over and do your gardening that way.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted everyone to be able to participate, even if you're in a wheelchair, even if you're elderly, you know, you can't really get on the ground. Yeah.
That's super cool. And how long have you been doing that?
Yeah. So the community garden this is the 4th growing season right now.
Wow.
So you apply for...
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, you apply for a plot. It's about $20 a year. It's not much money. And then you have it for the entire summer. And a lot of families in the community have really benefited from that. And I love it because I eat really well and really healthy, but not everyone can because it's not accessible.
Right.
So if I create one community garden and create some accessible food for people, the mayor of Ottawa actually came to the opening of it and decided he's going to give out another, I think it was $40,000 or $50,000 in grants to other community gardens in the city as well. So
it's
like
not just about
effect.
you. It's literally, we want everyone to have a community garden, every community to have their own access to fresh fruits and vegetables.
That's the
really
ultimate
cool.
goal, yeah.
That's really important because it really ties into your lifestyle a lot. You like to, from what I understand, eat organic, eat a vegan diet, a plant-based diet. Talk to us about that a little bit. How did you get into that? Give us your history a little bit, the background. How did this, because you weren't always this way, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't raised vegan. I wasn't always plant-based, whole foods. The tipping point was in grade 10, I went vegetarian for some health reasons. And then in grade 11, I met my first vegan ever. And that was my world ethics teacher.
Okay.
And shout out to Miss Clement. She was awesome.
Shout out Miss Clement.
Yeah, shout out to her. She changed my life. So a little bit in the class she talked about it, but the kids weren't really feeling it. We didn't really understand. And I told her that I was vegetarian. So she said, okay, that's great. You should go and you should watch this documentary. And the documentary was called Earthlings.
Okay.
So I sat down and I watched it. And at first I was in it for more so health aspects, but that really taught me to look at it from a deeper perspective that included ethical veganism, but most importantly, environmental veganism. And that's when I was like, I cut it out, pun intended, cold turkey. I'm like, no more. So yeah, at that point, I was still eating dairy, but I completely cut that out and I just went vegan. So I've been vegan since grade 11. So that's 8 years now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, just from that one documentary, a little bit of information.
Talk to us about the difference between ethical veganism and environmental. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So ethical veganism, from my standpoint, is just like there's a golden rule. Most religions follow. You don't do to others what you wouldn't done to yourself, what you wouldn't want done to yourself. So I wanted to apply that to as many aspects of my life as possible. So I'm like, hey, what I'm seeing in these documentaries and about animal agriculture, I don't really agree with. I wouldn't want that done to myself or my family or anyone I know. So if I don't need these things to live, I'm just going to cut it out. So that was my ethical kind of inspirational moment. And then when it comes to environmental veganism, I started looking into just the amount of water we needed to have like large scale animal agriculture, and also the amount of waste that it produces, which is like just terrible for the environment.
Right. And for a dummy like myself who doesn't know anything about this kind of stuff, could you give me a few like statistics or some numbers about that like someone listening out there who might be curious about this kind of thing but not really like what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
water
okay.
use, son. I use water in the shower. Like,
Yeah. So, one statistic for like more so ethical veganism is if we killed humans at the same rate that we kill animals, every single person on earth would be dead within a week. That's just the amount of animals that we go through, whether it's like fish or chicken or anything like that. And then when it comes to water, to create like 1 gallon of regular whole milk versus like, let's say soy milk, I think it's something crazy, like over 1,000 times more, because you have to first grow crops that you're going to feed the animals, so that takes water, and then you have to then make sure your animals are hydrated, so that takes water, and then there's also all of the pollution from that actually goes into our waterways.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so then that takes away more of the water that we could be using. Yep.
That's super interesting to me. You know, a lot of us on a day-to-day basis, those of us who don't necessarily practice veganism, but we want to be a little bit more self-conscious about our choices. What do you think is one of the main things that, you know, people who aren't really willing to, you know, make the full change over? Because as you know, it's not easy. I mean, there's often
not easy.
probably days where you're like
Yeah.
looking at the label of something, and
Yeah.
it's probably gotten a lot easier now that it's part of your lifestyle, and you know it's almost all encompassing. But for someone who's just going on about their day, not even thinking about this 90% of the time, what are some of the small little tweaks you can do to kind of head in a direction to not necessarily go fully vegan, but kind of start changing your mindset towards things?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I feel like living in 2019 is one of the best times to be living for veganism, because before, if you wanted to eat something vegan and your friends are like, hey, I'm going to A&W, you'd be like, well, shit, I can't eat anything there.
Yeah.
But now I feel like because more people are pushing it, going to restaurants and asking, you can almost find something vegan wherever you go.
Almost everywhere. I feel like the demand is there, and businesses are reacting.
Yeah, exactly. And then in order for your own cooking to improve and stuff like that, to take a little bit of a transition, I don't really suggest just like jumping into it like I did. Make more just gradual changes. Like, let's say you have some milk in your fridge. Well, as soon as you finish that off, just try a different product that's a plant-based milk that you're interested in.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to try soy milk this week and realize you really like it. And then that's just like one small change that you can gradually, you know, change other things. Like maybe the next week you'll be like, hey, one day I'm going to try vegan. Right. So you find this really dope recipe you like and you're going to try it. And then just like gradually,
That's super interesting
like that.
what you just said, because I actually do have quite a few friends who are vegan. And, you know, when we go to restaurants and stuff, it's interesting that a lot of places do have that option. But what I found super cool about what you said is like the milk thing, right? For example, like to me, I grew up just drinking milk. I never,
Me too.
I literally never like thought about it. It's just there's literally advertisements that tell me get milk or something, like drink milk,
got
like,
milk,
got milk. Yeah. I was like, okay, I never. Now thinking back, and it's like, why are they pushing milk so hard? What do they got to? But I started replacing my milk with almond milk.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you like it?
I like it, and to me, I don't really tell a difference, because I don't really drink milk just in general. Like, it's never something like, I'd love to have a glass of milk. But in my coffee, I'll have a little bit of milk, and I've replaced that with almond milk, and I can't tell a difference. Like, to me, it's perfect. I want the almond milk now.
Yeah, you're happy. The cows are happy. It's a win-win situation.
I can't say I'm making the cows happy, because like it's such a small thing, but that actually leads into my next question. For somebody who's looking at all these health trends, fad diets, all kinds of different things that you could try to improve your health, whatever that really means these days, because it's almost subjective in a lot of ways. What is something that, I mean, I'm trying to frame this question in a way where it's like, what is something somebody can do to filter out the noise and try to figure out what's fact versus what's fiction when it comes to like what do you want to put in your body?
You got to listen to your body. That's
okay.
my number one saying. So everyone is metabolically different. So what works for me might not work for you. So what I recommend is well, first of all, I mean, you need to have adequate fruits and vegetables in your diet. If you feel like you're not getting enough of that, try to incorporate some more. That's like the main thing. But going beyond that, just see how your body feels. I mean, if you go a couple days without eating something that you normally would have in your diet, and you really focus on how your body feels when you reintroduce that food, you might have a reaction to it. And that's something that I've tried myself. Like, I used to have a lot of environmental and allergies. I used to actually have an almond allergy, peach allergy, lots of different things. And it was because I was eating a lot of things that was upsetting my immune system.
Okay.
So once I went on a little detox, I came back, and then I really focused on how my body felt when I reintroduced these foods to it. And I wouldn't necessarily feel great when there were certain things. So that's what I knew what to cut out of my diet. So if you have a meal and you feel really tired, you feel like lethargic,
Right.
maybe it's not the best for you.
The itis.
When you get the itis, you
The
know you
itis.
haven't eaten something good.
No, never.
Yeah.
You know you just fucked up your body.
I've never had the itis with some kale. That's all I'm gonna
never.
say.
There's never like
Yeah.
you're never having a kale smoothie and like, oh, I'm done, yo. You guys go on without me. I can't move off this couch.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely true. Like, the foods that you're eating should be giving your body energy. And if
Yeah.
it's doing anything that's not that, you're not putting the right things in.
Interesting. But in the lives that people lead and live, it requires a lot of self-awareness to actually pay attention to how you feel when you put certain things in your body.
Yeah.
I remember us having an interesting discussion once where you were telling me about some of the foods that you tend to crave might be the ones that you're actually intolerant to.
Yeah, that's
And
absolutely true.
I found that so interesting because I'm always craving pizza.
Oh, me too.
I'm always craving some kind of cheese,
Yeah.
something like with bread and cheese, something that's
Yeah.
like comfort food by traditional standards. So does that mean I'm allergic to pizza? Because I'm done. I'm out. What am I going to do without pizza,
Yeah, it's really difficult. It might mean, though, that your body just does not agree with dairy that well.
Okay.
If you're eating things that aren't adequate for your immune system, it's going to target those foods. And it's kind of weird, but your blood pressure will go up and down.
Okay.
And then that causes like a strange chain reaction where you tend to crave the foods that you don't like because you get like a little bit of a high when you eat them, and then you crash, and then you
that's
crave
nuts.
more, so you go back up and down. It's like a roller coaster ride of unhealthy foods. Yeah.
That's nuts to me. I never even thought about it that way, like how everything's so connected. That actually makes me think of something I heard about our gut biome.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that, I feel like you would know a lot more. I've got my bro science view of it, but I feel like why don't we go back a little bit before we go into that and talk about your background a little bit in terms of what you study and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, so right now I'm in school full-time. I'm taking orthomolecular health sciences. And
explain to us what that means.
Yeah, I say that, I feel like, oh my God, that's a big word. What does that mean? So in Latin, pretty much ortho means the correct amounts.
Okay.
So orthomolecular health sciences pretty much just bases their approach. It's a form of alternative medicine that bases the approach that all diseases and degenerative illnesses within the body are caused from nutrient deficiencies.
Okay.
So it aims to improve your body on a cellular level by giving it everything that it needs nutritionally.
Okay.
So I have about a year left on my program, and then I'll be getting my diploma. So right now I'm pretty much just collecting all of the information I can on this alternative medicine, and then I'll be able to apply it. So I'll be able to meet with people and figure out how they're feeling, their diets, and then tell them, hey, this is the imbalance you might have, or this is the nutritional deficiency that I see within you. And these are some foods, some supplements you can take in order to help that. And what I love about my program is there's a lot of biology in it, a lot of biochem, and it pretty much just talks about how we are humans, but our organs are made out of tissues that are made out of molecules. And in order to, so let me phrase it this way. Every 365 days, 98% of our body replaces itself. So our cells are constantly recreating themselves, healing themselves, and what we eat, the minerals, turn into these organs we have in our body. So every 365 days, you can either eat healthy to improve your well-being, or you can eat food that is going to take away from your well-being and can cause diseases and deficiencies. So from that, my perspective is, why aren't we eating as best as we can? Why aren't we eating all of the nutrients that we need in order to create the optimal environment for our body to thrive?
Wow, what an explanation. That's amazing, because in like day-to-day life, when people are going about just stuffing some junk food in their face to get to work, just to get on with their life, make their kids some craft dinner and just go on with life, it's hard to think about the micronutrient levels in our bodies, let alone the orthomolecular, the what our body craves and wants and needs, the optimal amount. I think it's such an interesting science, and it's something that I feel like we're just kind of scratching the surface on being aware about. And that's like tying back to what I like originally brought up. The gut biome is something I think we're just starting to understand how important. From my understanding is that like it's external to the body. It's not even actually in your body, which blew my mind, because it's in your body, but it's happening. There's a tube running through your body, and there's living bacteria and organisms inside your large intestine. I don't know, one of your intestines that's like the in less words controls your mood and controls all kinds of things. Is linked to depression, is linked to different all mood disorders and all kinds of things, and like your body composition, all kinds of like, this blows my mind.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. A lot of people, when they think about mental health, they don't think about where the majority of our serotonin in our body is created. And where is that created? It's created in our guts, in our gut microflora. So if you are eating foods that aren't optimal for your body and you're not able to digest them properly, and your gut microflora is all over the place, you're not getting that serotonin. You're not going to be in a good place. Yeah.
That's so interesting to me. And then, just starting to change things. You say 365 days a year, and that might sound daunting, but if it's like most things in life, it's just starting. That's going to be the hardest part, experimenting. What really works for you and what you can sustain. Not everybody's going to be able to, run a community garden and pick fresh fruits and vegetables and cook. And, not to diminish anything you're doing, it's absolutely amazing, but it's not realistic for everybody to be able to do. But there are many things that we can do, even if you go to the grocery store. I'll give people an example of something I started doing, and I am by no means a healthy guy, so take it with a grain of salt, but I try to stay around the perimeter of the grocery store. That's something that a tip somebody gave me once, and it blew my mind, because a lot of the junk is in the middle, all the processed boxed food that your body literally does not need. For the most part, I can get my fruits and vegetables, and you talk about trying to purchase organic, which is also something I'd like to get into with you, because I don't really even understand fully why, but I just do it because I know, it's probably better, But just trying to be a little more conscious about what you put in your body can make, like, I don't know, it makes an immense difference in how I feel. If I've had a few days where I am eating the pizza, giving into the cravings and stuff, I feel like dog shit. I'm like, I don't want to do anything. The last thing I want to do is go to the gym or work on my own personal or professional development. I just want to continue the loop. Just feel more sorry and do more shitty things for your body, and then just continue that way, and that can easily turn into somebody's life. That negative feedback loop. So just start with something, right? I think that's the message, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just start with one thing. Even if you want to just start with one meal a week.
Yeah.
Just start there. And what you said about staying on the perimeter of the grocery store, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be putting foods in your body that don't decompose. That just worries me.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy fresh produce, stuff that's going to eventually go bad, but eat it before it goes bad.
That's powerful stuff. How do you feel about some of these more fad diets that a lot of people are getting a lot of success with, such as the keto diet?
Yeah, so the keto diet, I mean, I'm not a regulated health professional. Don't take anything I say as a matter of fact. But for myself, I don't believe in the ketogenic diet at all. I believe there is a healthy way to do it and there's an unhealthy way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people do need it. I mean, I think one of the main reasons why the diet was created was for people with epilepsy.
Right.
And that has proven to help them. That is beautiful. But I think a lot of people are taking it out of context. And they're doing a very unhealthy version of keto, which includes a lot of meat, a lot of dairy. And these products are highly processed depending on where you get them, and they're also very acidic. And when we talk about acidity in the body,
that's a big one.
Yeah, that is a big one, and that's also a main contributor to a lot of diseases in the body as well.
And you mentioned once to me, or I think you were mentioning once about acidity being linked to cancer.
Yeah.
And having a pH, something about your pH balance in your body being linked to these diseases and stuff. Like, that's, a lot of people don't know that. They literally just go and buy their Coca-Cola and like eat their, you can be on keto and you can literally have bacon and cheese. It can be you can be technically in ketosis eating like bacon and cheese, which is attractive to a lot of people, right?
It is, because it's easy.
It's easy.
They're like, hey, I can do keto, I can lose weight, I can eat the foods that I crave.
Right.
Yeah, and it worries me. Like you were mentioning pH. And our blood pH levels pretty much just regulates our entire body system. And in order to create that level of homeostasis within the body and to create that pH level, what a lot of people don't know is it requires nutrients and it requires minerals to keep your body at that level of functioning. So yes, your body will regulate its pH levels by itself, but if you don't have the adequate minerals and nutrients from your diet, where is it going to take those minerals from? It's going to take those minerals from other areas in your body. So if you're very acidic, it might take some like minerals from your muscles or from your bone tissues. And when it robs that, you may develop osteoporosis. So it's really important that whatever kind of diet you're doing, I mean, even if you are ride or die keto, just make sure you're getting an adequate amount of nutrients.
Right.
Still incorporate, you can still eat some fruits, you can still eat, I think like you can eat blackberries, some like leafy greens. Make sure you're getting all of that if you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is because people get caught up in wanting a packaged something that is foolproof and going to work for them, no matter what anybody says. And that's why I think the whole like fitness and weight loss industry is so full of coaches and people who are trying to sell people on a one shoe fits all kind of solution when there isn't one. It's so personal. It's so reliant on your own personal factors for how you're gonna stick to something. Like a lot of people gain a lot of success with keto short term, lose a ton of weight, and then as soon as they hit their goal weight or whatever, put it back on. And that's not just keto. That's all kinds of diets. Any diet. Any yo-yo dieting. It's just how it is. What I think people should try to focus on, and I am not a licensed anything, so I'm just talking shit, but from my experience and having gained a lot of weight at a point in my life, and losing that, just stick to something that you know you can stick to. Try to get those nutrients in. And when you talk about pH balance and stuff, this is when things to me get a little bit, all right, man, how much do you want me to, like, I literally can't worry about all these things. There's just too much. Alkaline water. This is something you brought up to me, and I remember, and I'm going to be completely honest, when I first heard about alkaline water, I'm like, yo, This sounds like a scam, man. What are we talking about here? Like the pH levels in water. Like, bro, this tap water is already fucked up. What am I gonna do? Like, they're just taking tap water and repackaging it. And then I bought this flow water stuff, and I'm telling you, there's something about it. It tastes different. It tastes right. It actually satisfies me. Like I feel better. Maybe it's placebo effect. Maybe not. But
hey, even if it is, ride it.
I think there is something to it, man. I think this acidity stuff is very interesting. I want to look into it a lot more myself and see how I can start to adapt my grocery list and stuff. But this is like a random tangent, but does this have to do with inflammation at all?
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Acidity pretty much equals inflammation and mucus buildup within the body.
Right.
So and an interesting thing about inflammation and acidity in the body is a lot of people don't notice it right away, because what our body does is when we have a lot of acidic tissues, it tries to push those tissues as far away from our internal organs as possible.
Okay.
So the first places that you're going to start to see the effects are in your hands or in your toes. So a lot of young people that I know are complaining of arthritis or pain in their hands or in their feet.
Super weird.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like people just like attribute that to, oh, I'm on the computer a lot, or, you know, my feet are just sore because like I was out walking. But our bodies are so resilient. Mm-hmm. At a young age, we should not be having these aches and pains.
No, definitely not. And, you know, that's such an interesting point you bring up, in that, like, we just brush things off. Like, oh, it's because of X or it's because of Y. And our bodies can take a pounding. Yeah. They could take a lot of shit.
They can.
So imagine if you start treating it with a little bit more respect, you could like live forever. You could like be feeling healthy, feeling good and stuff all the time. But I think it's also, it ties into the society that we live in and operate in that we're too busy to worry about this shit. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason. I'm not justifying it, but we make ourselves so busy that we don't want to take the time to think about our meat vehicle, our body, our, like, this is literally you only get one. Yeah,
this is the only one you're going to get. Yeah. I think about it, like, how often do people just sit and check in with their bodies? How often do you just sit and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling today? Mm-hmm. And then, why am I feeling this way? So that correlates exactly into the society we live in right now. It's such a fast-paced society where instead of sitting down to a nice home-cooked meal from your own garden, we're rushing to work and we're picking up an Egg McMuffin and we're eating it super quickly. We're not even thinking about what we're doing. We're not even taking the time to chew it properly. So that first method of digestion starts in your mouth. We're not even thinking about it.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
Yeah, it's just like everything is going fast. Yeah.
Just throw it in. I don't have time to think about this. Come on.
Who does?
I got some other shit to do. Like, what the hell?
Exactly.
But that's so removed from like what we are as humans, what we're supposed to be.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Connected with our food and present in the moment, every moment. And it's all like, I don't really know how to shift that mindset in people. Do we just need to start saying no to more things? Do we need to come back and have more open calendars and take less things on? Like, I don't really know where to start with, because everything that you do, everything that you have, like, you know, you've accomplished and the way you live came about from a high level of self-awareness at some moment in your life when you thought about it. You thought about how something either made you feel, or you thought about, you know, how something that you're doing has had an effect on the world around you and the people around you, the animals around you, everything around you. But it's just it's one of those things where a lot of people are just going to brush it off like, I don't have time for that. Yep. But it's like, why don't you have time for that? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. Why do you have time for anything but that? You have time to check in on your phone, but not your body. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that actually ties me into one of the next things I wanted to talk to you about. And this is the social media break that you've gone on. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think it's pretty important to hear.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. The things that are important to us, we make time for. And it's almost been 3 weeks now I've been off of social media. The realization I had was it was a Sunday and had some things on my to-do list, and I sat down for a second and I just started scrolling through Instagram. How many times have you just sat down, started scrolling through Instagram, and you're like, wow, it's been an hour or 2 hours or God knows how long. And that's when I realized, like, this isn't benefiting me in my life right now. I have much more important things that I need to be giving my energy to. So let's just right now delete all these apps. I didn't delete my accounts because I do believe there is a lot of importance within networking, and social networking is just
being connected.
Exactly. The greatest form of connection right now. Like, you can talk to anyone from around the world right there on your phone. That's amazing. But what I did is I deleted my apps. So it wasn't as accessible to me. If I wanted to go on Facebook, I would sit in front of the computer and I would go. Or same thing with Twitter. So I deleted all of my apps. And what I realized is when you sit in your room and you don't have a phone in front of you, you get a lot of shit done. Yeah. And
a lot of thinking done.
A lot of thinking done. You check in with yourself. You make time for the things that you wouldn't normally make time for when you're just like scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, or whatever. And I love upkeeping with my friends, and that is great. But I don't need to be upkeeping with them every single minute of every single day. So taking that little break and kind of, distancing myself from that was a great awakening within itself. And I do plan on making my way back to social media, but I'm going to set some boundaries for myself. And that's where it comes into, you're saying, do people just need to start saying no more? And I think saying no has great power within it. And for myself, I need to give myself that power and say, no, this isn't going to take the time, because in order for me to become the better version of myself, I need to do the things that are the best for me. And right now, scrolling through Instagram is not what's best for me.
No, it's not, because there's so much subconscious comparisons that you're doing with other people. You're like, oh, how many followers does this person have? And I'll admit it, I'm on Instagram all the time. I'm on Twitter, and obviously I'm trying to grow the podcast and stuff, so I might still post some of these clips on IG, and it'll be super ironic. But it's very important what you're saying, because having that mindfulness to think, hey, I need to take a break from this because it's not achieving anything. How do we deal with that in the future? Where right now I guess our age group, we're in a little bit of I'd say a transitionary period where the phones are pretty new to us, but now everyone's kind of got one. Most people that you know have some sort of social media account. I think I can speak for most people when they have some kind of way I can connect with them, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. How do we deal with that on a macro scale with the next generation when it's normal? You can't not have a phone. Like, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? How do you not have Instagram? Why didn't you respond to my DM? Like, these are questions that are going to be legitimate, and like, people are going to be asking them, and people are going to be faced with these decisions. Parents are going to be faced with these decisions for their kids. Like, it's like, what a time. Like, I'm not asking for you to answer this,
because honestly,
just your thoughts.
Like, I don't even know. And that's such a interesting thing you brought up about the younger generation too, because I know for myself, like, I have some friends that are active, some that aren't that active. Like, it varies, but I have a younger brother, and with his generation, it is 100% on the phone, on the games. It's pretty much, it's their livelihood, because that's what they grew up with. So that's all they know. So putting parameters or boundaries around that, they just don't understand that, because it's all they've ever had. Whereas I feel like we're lucky. We're like the last generation to actually grow up outside. And because of that, we can say like, hey, this is kind of foreign. This kind of feels weird. Why am I staring at a screen when my body wants sunlight and it wants oxygen? So we have an easier time with that. Like, we have an easier time to just set those boundaries and be like, hey, it's good that I post on social media. It's good that I'm connecting with people. Maybe I'll set an hour of a day to that and put it in your schedule.
Right.
And the other 23 hours of the day, don't go on those apps because you're going to just waste your time.
Apple's pretty good at that. Now, at least they have those limits that you can place on certain apps.
I didn't know about
they
that.
have this feature now, and, I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of ironic that they're releasing it, but it's like you can limit. Not only does it give you statistics on your screen time, which is absolutely baffling to me sometimes. Like, sometimes I'll be on my phone for like 4 to 7 hours in a day. Like, what?
Yeah.
What did I do? And it breaks it down. You were texting for an hour.
Yeah.
What? Who? You were on Instagram for 3 hours. Like, what?
And I'm like, what did I look at in those 3 hours?
I don't know.
What did I learn from that?
I think I tapped on a few things and commented on one or two and like, ooh, yeah, that's cool. But like, what did I really do? But you can set limits now. So
that's good.
I have a thing on my phone, and this is embarrassing, but it's like an hour and 30 minutes, which is still a ridiculous amount. But it's only to grow this brand. I'm trying my best to make the podcast reach as many people as possible. But an hour and a half, that fills up before the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty quick.
That'll be me standing in line at the grocery store. That accumulates a few minutes. Even like at a red light, why am I on my phone? Yeah. What am I doing? This is so fucking ridiculous.
It's addictive. It's a literal addiction that you have to work so hard to get past.
What a weird and amazing time to be alive. Hyper connected, but never more like alone and not present with yourself. Yeah,
you're not connecting to yourself, but you can connect to anyone else on this entire planet in 1 second.
It's nuts. I remember like you brought up when we were kids, and I remember calling up my buddies on the landline, and their mom picking up and being like, "Can I talk to my buddy?" And he's like, "No, he's busy right now." And he'd call me back like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm like, "Yo, meet me at the park at 5. Boom, hang up. And we'd meet at the park at 5. That was it. I didn't have to check in with them. Hey, are we still good? Hey, this like I'm on my way. 2 minutes away, 1 minute away. I'm at the door, open the door. That did not exist. We create these anxieties for ourselves. Like, it's kind of nuts. Like,
that is
it was
so
straight
true.
up like, be at the park at 5. If he didn't show up at the park at 5, someone died. Something went horribly wrong. Like we would just meet at the park at 5. Like, there was no
big deal. Like, you just do it. But now I feel like there's a lot of anxiety that surrounds our phone. I mean, there's the whole like texting culture. It's like, if you text and you don't get a text back, then would you double text? Or,
oh my God.
And there's so much anxiety that just surrounds that. And to me,
what a weird game.
It is a weird game. Because it's like maybe that person's at work or they're just not on their phone right now. But I can also say I've been on the other end of that too, where someone doesn't answer right away. And I'm like, hey man, why not? Like, why aren't you answering your phone? Why aren't you answering my call?
Am I not important enough for you?
Exactly. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this is some craziness that's going on inside my own head right now.
Not just you, it's everybody. We all got that in us. And it's so interesting to me seeing how our parents deal with that now that they're completely adopting technology. Not completely, but a lot more than, they used to. And just explaining them from texting, like I remember teaching my mom how to text on what do you call those like when you had like to hit 7 4 times for an S, and then
that's a flip phone. My dad still has a
that's gangster. Your dad's a gangster.
He's like, I'm not fucking with any of this new technology. I'm good where I'm at, and I respect him for that.
That's a baller move. You can still get in touch with him if it's important, but
exactly.
I remember teaching her that, and now my mom's sending me GIF emojis.
Wow,
My mom's sending me like the goofiest. She's sending me voice messages. She's sending me like features I don't even know yet. I'm like, what is going on here? Shout out to you, Mom. This is it's too funny. Like, she's sending me little like heart emojis that are moving and blowing up and going across my phone. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, what the hell? But then read receipts is a whole different thing. It's like, you read my text, bro.
I won't even go into locations.
Oh, locations. That's risky business. That you can't be doing that. I never liked that. Why you gotta know where I'm at? But yo, if someone really needed to find out where you are, they could, which
Yeah.
is fucking creepy.
At any time.
Our phone's
Yeah.
always with us, right?
Everything is geotagged. One of the craziest things about my phone that kind of just blew my mind, which is also really cool at the same time. Shout out to Apple. But it's cool how you can go into your photos and you can see where every single one of your photos has been taken.
Yo.
And just see a map. And
That's so true.
Yeah, like I travel a lot. So I'm like, that's so cool. Like I can see all the areas in the world that I've been and taken all these different pictures. But yeah, like it's so easy to get caught up then. Every single picture you take, like, that's geolocated.
Yeah.
They can track you using any of that. Not to mention they listen to you
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing. The listening in, like we've all got those targeted advertisements after having a conversation about flow water. I'm now gonna get coupons.
Right now,
I'm gonna get coupons from Amazon. Hey, why don't you buy this 36-pack of flow water?
Yeah, exactly.
You use this coupon. Like I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's
But
crazy.
it goes a lot deeper than that. I don't have enough knowledge about how companies are using our data. I straight up just don't know enough to actually have a legit conversation about
me
it.
neither.
We know it's happening. There's a lot of interesting documentaries on it. I've got queued up. I just don't have the time. But what am I gonna do? I'm a slave to it. I own all Apple products. I think we've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
I am a slave to Apple. I got the Apple TV, the watch, iPad, this, that, everything. Like
everything.
I like the ecosystem. I'm literally looking at a MacBook right in front of you. Like I like it, but at the same time, a while back I kind of just submitted to I'm not gonna have privacy.
Yeah, you have to sign those rights away if you want to use these products.
Especially all these social media companies and Facebook, like they're not even trying to hide it. They're like, yeah, we sell your data to everybody. Your data ain't shit to us, bro. We sell it to China and all these different countries and stuff like that. Like your data is everyone's data. So I don't really know. You can put some dinky little consumer protections in front of it, like, yeah, you gotta sign this waiver and whatever. But what are we really gonna do about it? I have no idea.
And what's the government doing? Not that much.
They don't even understand it. You have Mark Zuckerberg going in front of Senate, talking to them, and they're asking, like, so this Facebook doohickey that you got there, you're telling me I can send a message to you right there, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Man. We're so
technology is just advancing at such an exponential rate that our laws and ethics can't keep up to it. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I don't really know what to do about it, so it is what it is. I'm just gonna embrace it.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to be mindful. Try to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go outside and enjoy nature.
Unplug a little bit.
Go unplug. Try to delete the apps. I really like that. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start deleting the apps when I don't use it because it's such a thing that you just naturally go back to. I've heard somebody tell me something that helped them is putting their phone in grayscale. So turning the colors off because the colors trigger a response, a dopamine response.
100%. That little ding.
Yeah.
Like,
You love that message, that notification, and
it's addictive.
And companies know about that, so they make it as pop and it's all by design.
Grayscale. That's a really good idea.
I remember trying it for a day and it worked because I hated my phone.
Yeah,
it definitely worked, but I went back to the color because I like the dopamine.
You're like, this sucks.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about environmentalism. This is something you're passionate about, and I want to hear about it from you. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. So, we already talked a little bit about environmentalism when it comes to veganism. But beyond that, I think thinking about it more so when it comes to diet also made me think about it in more aspects of my life as well. So I started thinking a lot about plastic and consumption. And I'm a very big advocate for zero waste and plastic free. And that's because when you were growing up and you're like, oh, I recycle. This is amazing. Like, this is what it is. Yeah. I'm an environmentalist. And then I realized, I'm like, hey, what happens to this plastic we recycle? First of all, most of it doesn't even make it there. If it's contaminated, if you put the wrong thing in, it's going to the landfill straight away.
And not just it, the whole box.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, they just chuck it. And then I thought about it as well. What do they do with this plastic that we're recycling? And they make it into another lower form of plastic and then a lower form of plastic. So pretty much any plastic that you buy, even if you recycle it, eventually it's going in a landfill somewhere. And so I really thought about not just recycling, but ways to reduce my intake of plastic or whatever it is that's going in the garbage. So the main things that I did to change that was, like you said, buying produce and things that are on the outside of the grocery store. If you buy produce, you don't have to put it in a produce bag. Nothing like that. You just bring your own bag, put it in, check it out, you're good to go. Get a filter for your water.
How do you feel about the cleanliness of that in the store? You're washing your vegetables and stuff anyways, but how do you... This is just something that popped into my head. Because if I try doing this, I'm going to feel a little icky about the
I might be the
belt.
Wrong person to ask this because I have kind of like an interesting view about my immune system, but I will go into my garden and I'll pick something straight from the dirt and I'll eat it. I know there's insects, animals, stuff like that, but that little bit of dirt that's on there, there's actually a little bit of B12 in there. There's a little bit of stuff that might not be ideal for your body, but your immune system is going to see that and they're going to be like, hey, this is not good for us. We're going to create some antibodies. We're going to get stronger.
So it's like, it also ties into that, like, you want your kids to play outside in the dirt 100%. To build up your immune system. That's
exactly. Cool. Yeah, so that's how I feel about my own produce I get at a farmer's market. When it comes to produce from the grocery store, I'm not too sure where it comes from, so I would always wash it and make sure my bags and stuff are clean. Don't like put it directly into the bottom of your shopping cart or something because you never know what's been in there, but for the most part, give it a good wash. Even you can soak it with some like lemon juice, something like that.
Yeah, can I ask you a quick question about that? I heard once, I forgot from who, because you see apples in the grocery store completely waxed and like looking all shiny and cool. I didn't know what to do about that, and someone's like, oh, soak it in vinegar. Is that something you do?
Yep, you can just take some warm water, put a little bit of vinegar in, put some lemon, soak all your produce. If you're buying food from the store and you're not too sure if it's organic, I definitely recommend that.
Okay, that's a good move. Continue though.
Oh yeah, definitely. So some things about me is like whenever I go out, I always have a mason jar with me.
Nice.
Because one of the main things is like, I'm going to be plastic free. I'm going to reduce my waste. Awesome. Bring a cup with you wherever you go. Those lids you get from Starbucks and those cups, those are never disintegrating. If you buy that, that's there forever.
Oh my God.
Like that
talk
sucks.
about greenwashing. A lot of these companies straight up, they're doing these gimmicky little, we're gonna change this one little thing.
Like don't get a straw. Get a plastic lid instead. How does that make any sense?
I have no idea. It's just and a lot of people are buying into it, and I think I mean it's not funny, but it's like, come on guys. We're not even ironic. Trying here.
Exactly. It's like
the people are gonna buy
what's
that
the
though.
Point?
It's like, my straw, it's paper. Nice, man.
Or like, I'm not buying a straw. I'm going to save a turtle. And instead, I'm going to just pollute the landfill with this plastic cup that's never going to disintegrate. So just always bring a cup with you. Have it in your bag, whatever. Another thing I do is like, even if you just bring a Tupperware container with you, or like I have this, it's just like this metal food container. I bring it with me as well because let's say you're going out to eat and you don't finish your dinner. What happens? You want to bring it home with you. They put it in this styrofoam thing. That is not good. I find a lot of people are like nervous to ask, but don't ask. Just say it. Just be like, hey, I'm getting this food to go. Put it in this container, please. They're not going to say no.
No, they're not. Especially if they want the tip.
Exactly. And then you give them an extra big tip.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably one of the hardest things for me, because I actually saw you did this 30-day challenge or something. Like this, I'm going to collect every little bit of waste. You can probably explain it a bit better.
I should have brought my jar with me. So I had this mason jar. It was about this big. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do 1 month waste free. As waste free as I could, because it's nearly impossible to do. But I pretty much said every single piece of waste that I accumulate in this month, I'm putting it in this jar and it's going to come with me. So I'm not going to buy anything because I'm going to have to carry it around, and that sucks. And it was just kind of like, I wanted to make sure that I was aware of just how much I was polluting the earth. So for that entire month, every single thing that I bought, I made sure it had no plastic. If it did come in plastic, I would make sure it was recyclable, but I really tried to avoid it. Paper, recyclable, that's awesome. And at the end of the month, my jar wasn't even full, which was pretty awesome.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I did
I'd
have
fill
to...
up the jar in less than a morning.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. That's
you just
tough.
you gotta be conscious in every single thing that you spend your money on. And it is so hard in the digital age too as well, because anything you buy online, it's coming wrapped up in that plastic packaging and that
Literally
bubble
called
wrap
skip
and
the
everything.
dishes, and it comes in like a bag that's in another like 4 bags, and then those bags have like a paper bag stapled in styrofoam.
Yeah.
I just crushed your whole challenge for the year in one meal.
Imagine having to carry that with you everywhere you go.
That's the powerful part of the challenge. It's not just that, hey, I'm filling up this jar with everything that I screw up. I might forget something. I got to bring it with me.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
I like
you
that a lot.
gotta wear that. Yeah. So that's how I kind of just tried to make myself accountable of everything that I was buying. And from that, and it was really difficult too, because one day one of my coworkers is like, oh, I'm stopping in at Starbucks before work. Do you want me to get you anything? Absent-mindedly, I'm like, yeah, get me a steamed coconut milk. They bring it in. I'm like, what have I done?
No.
Oh no. And I'm trying to get this like plastic lid inside my jar. And I'm like, this is so shameful.
Oh my
I have to carry this with me. But then from there, I'm like, okay, what can I learn from this? I don't need to feel bad about it. I just need to learn. So every time someone would go for coffee at my work, I'm like, bring my mason jar.
Nice.
Yeah. And then they come back. Everyone has their like cups with their plastic lids, and I have my mason jar, and I feel dope about it. Like,
That's
it's awesome.
That's so powerful.
Yes,
I really like that. I really like that. I'm going to try to implement something to reduce. I won't be able to do that. I could try, but I know I'm a fail in a day. But it's really noble. I love that.
You're not gonna fail. I mean, even if you just do one thing or you learn one way to make it better, that's a win. You're not failing.
Facts. I like that a lot. Is there anything else you really are passionate about that I did not bring up, because you're such an interesting person? There's so many different facets about you. I know we didn't really touch on fitness a lot. I know you're into fitness. You're actually wearing let's talk about your...
Oh, yeah. Okay, I gotta do a little shout out to Sungi Fitness. So Sungi is my life partner and also a business partner.
Yep.
So he owns and operates Sungi Fitness, which is a personal training fitness program.
Love
but
it.
he goes, it's amazing. He goes deeper into it as well, though. So pretty much what he does is he takes you where you are, and he guides you and coaches you into exactly where you want to be.
Love that.
So he does that by physical fitness, but he also has lifestyle coaching, and I do the nutritional coaching aspect of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so people come in, they tell us how they're feeling, they check in with themselves, where they're at, and then from that, we build nutrition and fitness plans and wellness plans.
Right.
And we kind of just say, like, here's where you're at right now. Let's do these small little things to just increase your fitness
And where's
rate.
it located?
So he's actually mobile.
Okay,
so he doesn't just meet you where you are, your physical body, but like he can come to your house.
I like that.
Yeah, he can come to the gym at your building, anything like that.
That's the move. Mobile fitness is the move.
Yeah, definitely, because like we were talking about earlier, not everyone has a lot of time.
Exactly.
A lot of people are like, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to go for a run.
I don't make a lot of time.
Exactly.
A lot of people,
But if you have your health coach knocking at your door being like, okay, it's time for our workout, get your butt in gear, you're going to do it.
I love that.
Yeah, so shout out to Sungi Fitness.
Shout out to Sungi.
Yeah.
We'll tag it all below. That's
Yes.
That's awesome. This is an amazing conversation. I love this. I had one more question for you. And before we go into our lightning round, that's basically where I'm going to have people who are patrons of my podcast, who subscribe to my Patreon. They ask questions that I'm
cool.
going to ask you.
Sweet.
And that's how we'll end it up. But before that, I just want to ask one more thing. Talk to me about the benefits of CBD oil. Because I took some the other, I started it the other day. Literally, like, my buddy got an order, and I'm like, yeah, get me in. I've heard so many benefits of CBD oil and stuff like that. But I was like a little bit like I know it has no psychoactive effects. So how am I really going to know if it's actually doing anything? I know it's good for inflammation. I heard it can reduce anxiety, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But talk to me, like, your experience, if you even have any, with CBD oil.
Yeah, so fun fact, I'm actually growing a little bit of weed at my house. My
Very
plants
nice.
are, like, I'm not even kidding, 7 feet tall right now. They're crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you have to come check it out.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Holy shit, 7 feet. And you started from a seed?
It's from seed,
Bro.
from what I had last year.
She's
yeah.
legit, guys. She's not playing around.
Everything from seed, yeah. But yeah, you pretty much, like, got it all. Like, CBD oil, anti-inflammatory, amazing for your body. So if you have pain, if you have any illness like that, it's gonna pretty much we have a cannabinoid system in our body.
Yeah.
So it's gonna use that. It's gonna target the cells exactly what it needs. It's gonna help you. And that's the thing too, like, we need to be taking this time to check in with our body, and that can be something that helps you. If it creates some calmness and some stillness in your life, taking that, then that is absolutely amazing. Like, just ride that wave, check in with yourself, have some, like, deep thoughts, do some, like, breath work, do some breathing, and yeah, just, like, reaping all of those benefits.
I love that.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. I'm going to try incorporating it into my supplementation regimen.
Awesome.
Because I actually do feel like a little bit more calm.
Yeah.
Just a little more chill.
Yeah.
I had a job interview and I wasn't even nervous.
That's awesome.
Which sounds nuts because I was super nervous before when I was trying to prepare for it and stuff. But I went in so cool, calm, and collected, like, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
If they don't hire me, it's their loss. You know?
There you go. Yeah.
I'm
That's
like,
a good
I don't know if
attitude to
that's
have.
the CBD oil or how much I prepared. It's like what you said. You can't just
Yeah.
isolate things. So you have to see how it makes you feel and stuff.
Exactly.
Let's go on to our lightning round. I have a question from my buddy Zach. He was actually on episode 2 of the podcast. Check that out. And also Reese from the UK, good buddy of mine that I met while traveling. And he's probably running right now and listening to this. But they had a very similar question, so I'll lump it in together. They're wondering, knowing the false assumption about the vegan diet and the lack of protein, what's your favorite and most convenient source of protein?
Oh yeah, that's such a good question. Everyone's like, you're vegan, where do you get your protein?
Yeah, I think I've even asked you that.
Yep. And that's one of my favorite questions to answer too.
Yeah.
So I ask this question, do you know what protein is? So protein...
Amino acids or some shit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it is. So protein is pretty much just like complex chains of different amino acids. And where can you get amino acids? You can get those from fruits, from vegetables, from legumes, from grains. So what I like to do with my vegan diet is, instead of eating meat and eating protein and then breaking it down for your own cells to use, I just get it straight from the source. So definitely, like, the larger quantities of amino acids that I would eat would be like tofu is always awesome if your body agrees with that.
Okay.
And then also like incorporating like legumes with grains at the same time, because they have different forms of amino acids.
Okay.
Different ones are essential.
Right.
And you can get some from certain foods and some from others. So like if you have a plate with some brown rice and beans, that's optimal sources of protein.
That's a big part of the Indian diet where I'm from. Like, there's a lot of vegetarians. I've mentioned my mom's a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Growing up, having a lot of vegetarian dishes and stuff, lots of legumes, dal,
Yes.
and those kinds of things. And I never felt like I was missing out.
Yeah,
Really.
you're good.
So super interesting.
Matt.
My next question is from my friend Erin. She's been one of the biggest supporters of the podcast since day one. She asks, what kind of sites or blogs would you recommend for more information or research, specifically in terms of alternative or holistic medicine? Someone who knows nothing about the topic, how they can start from square one and educate themselves.
Oh, that's a really good question.
It was, yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, you might have got me there.
Hey, no, if you can come back to it and send links and I can paste them.
That's what I'm going to do. I'll send you a bunch of links.
Awesome.
Just like credited sources where you can search for material. But books.
Books.
I will send you a list of amazing books.
Awesome. Yeah. Love that. My buddy Nick, another good friend of mine, big supporter of the podcast. He asks, what is one food you would encourage non-vegans or vegetarians to include in their diet to make it more sustainable and healthy?
Oh, yeah. Like to switch out or just to include?
Just to include and, possibly transition. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have it here with me, but I'm assuming that's what he meant when he said non-vegans. Is kind of, think of someone like me.
Yeah. So I would say the milk thing, probably. I think milk and dairy is one of the biggest environmental factors.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't know too, like the milk and the meat industry just like go hand in hand, because most of the milk that you get from cows, those cows are just going to be turned into beef. So I think if you can just find an alternate milk source that you actually really like, that is like one of the biggest things that you can do for your own health, because most people are lactose intolerant to a certain extent, and also for the environment.
It's a great start. I like that a lot. And there's stuff out there. There's vegan almost everything out there. Like, I was surprised to find out vegan cheese.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of expensive, but but you're probably not going to be eating that much anyways. So that's super cool.
Yeah, when you're looking at a vegan cheese, I would recommend like the least processed form of it.
Right.
Like
don't just go and get
cheese.
vegan sliced, like craft slices.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if it's crappy for you when there's milk in it and it's the same product but like with processed alternatives, it's still not going to be that great for you.
No, that's a big misconception, is a lot of people will think that just because it's vegan it's healthy.
Yeah,
that's
vegan
absolutely not true.
Does not equal healthy in any way. If you're looking for more so like health reasons, just go whole foods, plant-based.
Yeah.
Veganism like ties in like ethics and environmentalism and everything, but you can be super unhealthy, and man, you can eat like vegan Big Macs and vegan mac and cheese every day for your life. You're not gonna feel good.
What is
but,
it, like M&Ms or Smarties or something? Are like they advertise that they're vegan. It's like, yeah, but it's how much sugar's in this? What are we talking about here?
I mean, licorice is vegan.
Yeah. Okay. 2 more questions. This one is from my younger brother. Do you see our environment changing for the positive in the next 10 years?
That's a really good question. So I really hope that we see a change. I believe that in the age of information and accessible information, ignorance is a choice. So if you have access to, I mean, even Netflix, there's so many documentaries on there. You have the ability to go out and to learn and to see what you as an individual can do that will impact other people around you and in turn the world. So I think that in the next 10 years, we are going to see a lot more people creating a lot more ethical businesses, sustainability models, and then people following. And on top of that, I think that it's going to become more accessible.
Absolutely.
And with more accessibility, people are going to want to do it.
Well, that's a really hopeful view. I like that a lot. I really do like the optimism that you're showing there, because we get enough doom and gloom as it is.
Oh, yeah. You gotta
the
stay
world's
strong.
The world's gonna end. This and that. 2050. Blah blah blah. All this negativity. That's awesome. I like that. This last one from me is, what's one piece of advice you'd give a young person interested in holistic living?
Oh, yeah. All right. So, what I would say is go to your local library and pick up some books that have to do with diet and nutrition on a cellular level. So, study some biochemistry. And then, on top of that, I recommend this for everyone actually. Go and watch some videos on Dr. Sebi.
Dr. Sebi.
Dr. Sebi, shout out, rest in peace. He was another main influence on my learning journey, and this man very directly outlines what alkaline diets are, what acidity does to the body, and how you can eat to sustain life, and also about how a lot of the products that we eat these days are genetically modified or they're not organic and they're actually hurting our body. So I would recommend, go watch some Dr. Sebi videos, go read some books on like cellular biology and how nutrients affects our bodies. And then on top of that, just go and eat some dope vegan food and see how you feel.
Go try it out. I love it. No better way to end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll have you on again and we'll keep talking about all the things that we learned. You're one of the most woke people I know. I hate using that term, but you're actually someone who actually exemplifies it. Thank you for coming on, and remember, it's not that deep. Thanks. I really enjoyed that conversation with Alycia. I got a lot of value from it, and I hope you did as well. Please consider subscribing to my Patreon page and to my podcast on all platforms. Leave a rating, comment, or just hit my line. Remember, it's not that deep.